If we get on TV and it gets sensationalized, you stir people up, it just leads to bad things. That's my point. We are working as hard as we possibly can with the full force of government and the full force of private enterprise, and that's the best we can do right now. We all as a country got dealt a bad hand by China.
Peter, that is just a waste of time to say that. I'm going to leave it there, Peter Navarro.
No, hang on.
We're just trying to get our hands around the... Peter Navarro,
why is
that's
that a waste
We're out
of time to say that?
We're out of time, and that's just...
Okay,
that's ridiculous.
Good to talk
Peter
with you.
Navarro,
I'll come
thank
back
you so
anytime.
much.
There you have a third-tier CNN anchor who has never been very bright, being nasty to a presidential economic advisor. I watched the whole about 8-minute exchange. She was just a petulant child. She was disrespectful the entire time, which is classic at CNN. I mean, I used to, just so you know, when I used to go on CNN, when I was a paid contributor there, before it was completely insane, like it was crazy, but you could kind of reason with them a little bit sometimes. Now they've lost their minds. I'm not sure I'm not banned from the building as a security risk, but the head of CNN saw me and like gave me a weird look and was like, "What are you doing here?" once. So I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed back, which is great. I wouldn't go on. I would only go on and fight with them, and they know that they don't want to deal with that. So, but you had Keeler, whatever her name is, being all aggressive here with Peter Navarro, and this is what was going on. She kept saying, "You guys have done a bad job preparing. Can you get to the number? Can you get to a million ventilators?" And he kept saying, "Well, hold on a second. Let's address this. You're making a claim that the administration has done a bad job preparing for this, and then you're saying we need 1 million ventilators." Which, keep in mind, no administration ever thought that they needed to have 1 million ventilators on hand. A million ventilators is a lot of machines, folks. These machines cost about, I'm not saying we don't have the money for it, but it's a lot of machines that cost $20,000 to $30,000 a piece. 1 million of them? Somebody else is going to have to do that math for me. So she's making this claim, and Peter Navarro kept trying to say, look, here's the reality of the situation. It's unprecedented. Nobody else, no other administration would have ever, if you had tried to get funding for 1 million ventilators, people would have laughed at you, thought you were insane, right? So, and she kept hammering the point. She's trying to trying to pander to the CNN audience, which just wants to hear how terrible Trump is, and he doesn't care about old people or any people dying for that matter. He just wants to, make more money and violate the emoluments clause and all this other psycho crap that they say all the time. But one part that kept coming up is, he was saying, look, this is China cut 6 weeks out. And this is just true. China, by lying and covering up, cut 6 weeks out of America's preparations for this. And if you're going to talk about how well the administration got ready for this, you have to be fair to the situation and say, well, the Chinese were a big problem here. And that other countries, if this had broken out first in the UK or France, I think there would have been a lot more transparency and a lot more honesty. But the Chinese Communist Party is a bunch of liars who don't care about anything other than their power, and that's a real issue. CNN's anchor here just kept saying that's a distraction. It's a pretty remarkable circumstance that you're seeing play out, and it's not one that I will forget anytime soon. That the liberal news media has an insistence in undermining any good news out of the Trump administration during this panic, while they will simultaneously and wholeheartedly believe any piece of absurd propaganda that China puts out. This is really all you have to know about their character, seriousness, and intelligence, all of which are deeply lacking. The Chinese government is claiming that they have sent tons and tons, pallets of medical supplies to Italy, for example, and they're sending them to other countries. And our news media takes these little propaganda pieces from China and says, look, China is the one stepping up with global leadership. People who think they're really smart look at these Chinese press releases and they say, oh, wow, China is doing a great job here. Why isn't America cutting itself off from the world while China is trying to help? First of all, we're in the midst of the peak of our own, or about to hit the peak of our own pandemic. And so, yeah, it would seem a bit strange if we're trying to build more ventilators for our people to be sending a lot of ventilators abroad. But here's the other piece of this that the moron journalist crowd doesn't understand. Put aside from that China is full of lies. We sent aid to China. we tried to help out the Chinese. And in fact, the Chinese kind of rejected some of that aid, including from the World Health Organization initially, but rejected American offers of help too. And then we gave them help, and then they shipped, help with medical supplies, and then they've shipped medical supplies to other countries now in just a propaganda effort. And our media reports on this as though, oh, look at China stepping up and showing all this leadership. Yeah, China's done a great job, for example, sending testing kits to Spain. Do you know what the percentage of those testing kits? Hundreds of thousands of testing kits they've sent to Spain. Our media is like, look at China stepping up here. The percentage of those kits that work, 30. Now, you might say, okay, well, at least they have 30% working kits. They don't know which kits work and which don't. Think about what that does then to the testing capacity in Spain. They have to run a test to see if it can actually work or not. They got hundreds of thousands of tests now from China that they can't really use, or if they try to use some of them, they can only use a percentage of them. Right? I mean, think of it this way. If you're in the middle of a war and I send you, 1 million rounds of ammunition, but only 30% of them will actually fire, and you don't know which ones. Am I doing you a big favor with that? Do you want to be on the front lines? Click, oops, didn't fire. Do you want to be the doctor that's running a test for somebody that needs to find out before they go back home and possibly infect other people, whether or not they have coronavirus? And then you go, oh, you wait 4 days or 5 days or 12 hours or whatever it is with the Chinese test. I don't know. And then you find out, oh, no, it results inconclusive. Or what if the results are wrong? Do we think that we can actually trust these tests being sent from China? America, because our own media really watches the authoritarianism of China with some envy. The American progressive movement, American liberals, wish that they could do what China does, which is just make people do whatever they want. Once you're in charge of the government, you make people do whatever you want, and there's no questioning it. There's no, wait, but we have a constitution. No. American libs, if they had their way, would do what the Chinese Communist Party does. They would just be nicer, but they would just tell people this is how it's going to go. They see things like the Green New Deal, and they say, oh, China could institute that so well. China would do this, but we have to go through Congress, and we have Republicans to get past, and we have a constitution that people will complain about when we trample it. So there's always been, and this is true. I mean, Tom Friedman, some of the top columnists in liberal media for years have been writing about the China model with praise, with high praise. And in fact, Nicolas Cage, anybody? I don't know if you guys remember that. And you look at the way Bloomberg has been covering China, and there's clearly some kind of weird, cozy relationship between Bloomberg and China and the ruling powers there. So, there's a lot to see here about the way that China is acting and the way that our news media is covering them, and there's a lot to be really outraged about, because this is a moment where patriotism and truth matter, and the patriotism of the media is constantly in question for me. Or really, they're actually just showing us that they're rooting for China against the Trump administration. Here would be a fun exercise, and you could do this as a thought exercise because you already know the answer. Do you think if you asked your average CNN anchor who is more truthful, Donald Trump or an official spokesperson for the Chinese Communist Party? Who, so any of the Chinese foreign minister, Xi Jinping, anybody, anyone at the top level of Chinese government, or Donald Trump, who is more honest and who is more trustworthy? 99% of journalists would say that it's maybe I should say 99% of the journalists who don't like Trump, which is 90 to 95% of journalists, would say that it's you can trust China more than you can trust Trump. They believe this. They believe this, which just goes to show you what terrible judgment they have and what a bunch of utter morons they are. And there are people like Nancy Pelosi who are running around acting like we should listen to them because they know something about anything. I mean, Nancy Pelosi knows how to be a cunning opportunist who will do anything she can to stay in power and to utilize power. That's what she knows. And she's a dogmatic lib. So whatever the left wing of the Democratic Party wants to do, Nancy Pelosi tries to bring that into reality. But she's going around saying, for example, just play clip 12.
We would hope that the government production office, the Defense Production Office agency would be called upon to call upon industry to convert to making ventilators and the rest. Testing, testing, testing. Mask, mask, mask. Ventilators, ventilators, ventilators. What's the mystery? We need many more. And a ventilator, just for your information, is not about making you breathe easier. It's making you breathe, period. It is vital to life and death in many, many, many cases. So we need an unlimited number, let's think of it that way, endless number of ventilators, and just to name one thing.
An unlimited number of ventilators. We don't have an unlimited number of anything, but we're going to need an unlimited number of ventilators? That's really her demand now. How do we even do that? I don't even know what that would look like. The number's unlimited. We're just going to have. So what does that mean? We should have 50 million of them just hanging around? They don't understand that there's man hours, labor, equipment, materiel, that these things. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has never run a business other than the business of being shady, opportunistic Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't know anything. She's never worked for a company. She's never spent time learning about basic economics. All she knows is the liberal orthodoxy and how to enact it by playing the media. And, well, I mean, the media is in her back pocket, so it couldn't be any easier for her. But, yes, that's her claim, that we need to have an unlimited number of ventilators. Oh, gosh, she's the worst. I don't know. I mean, de Blasio is actually the worst, but Pelosi sometimes gets pretty close for me. All right, so I want to talk about what we're going to do this weekend, folks. Enough. So we've gotten through all the most important news for today. What are our weekends? And this is the quarantine Freedom Hut now. So what are the weekends going to look like for all of us? What are you going to be doing? And I've got one thing that I need to share with you that I think will be a worthwhile recommendation. We'll bring in producer Mark to hear what he's got going on. Then we'll get to roll call, and then I'll send you off to just regroup, relax, keep calm this weekend. We'll get to all that. Stay with me.
It's not every day that a zookeeper went to prison for murder for hire.
There are more captive tigers in the U.S. than there are in the wild throughout the world.
Animal people are nuts, man. They're all crazy. I'm sure y'all got a story to tell.
I got to tell you, I watched two episodes of this last night with the still mystery lady in my life who will Team Buck, you'll meet and hear about her at some point. But I watched 2 episodes of that show, Tiger King, last night. It is phenomenal. It's so like crazy and weird, and I love animals. I remember being maybe a kindergartner, first grader, and telling people, and mostly just because I was impressed, I think that I knew the word, but that I wanted to be an animal conservationist. I don't think I ever really, I had watched some of these National Geographic VHS. National Geographic had this great series, this VHS series back in the day when we had VHS tapes. It shows you what a graybeard millennial I am, where they had one on sharks that was amazing. They had one with Jane Goodall and chimpanzees that was incredible. They had these sort of, I don't know, these episodes of National Geographic back when everything was VHS and, or old school cable TV. And I watched those tapes until they fell apart. So I loved the shark one in particular, which was really amazing because this is before Shark Week. This is before you had all that cool stuff. So, and they kind of overdid Shark Week. Like they overpromised after a while. I kept watching. Producer Mark, when was the last time you watched Shark Week?
Never.
You've never seen it?
I mean, like, I've seen commercials and stuff, but it doesn't interest me as much as
like
it
15 years ago, it was pretty cool. But then every year it's just like, okay, and like now we're going to look at like this series of attacks that we don't know if they really happened, but maybe they did, and these people didn't drown. They were eaten by sharks. You're just
Isn't
like,
this
this
is
is...
lead up to Sharknado now?
No, I mean, Sharknado is not something I've ever seen. I think Ann Coulter, who's a friend of the show, I think she was in Sharknado too. I'm being serious.
I think she was too. That sounds right.
Yeah, I think she was, which is pretty awesome. She's got a great sense of humor. So anyway, the shark stuff is a little bit overdone now. I mean, once you've seen those great white sharks that eat the seals and fly out of the water when they do, that's the most amazing ocean footage I've ever seen of anything. So that's pretty incredible. But anyway, I'm somebody who does like watching, these nature shows. Actually, the Netflix Nature at Night or whatever it's called. It's something at night about different, animal ecosystems. That was pretty well done. But the Tiger King is about a guy named Joe Exotic. Mostly. There's some other people that are central players too, who raises lion cubs, tiger cubs, obviously. I can't even name all the animals that they've got. They've got hundreds of them, and he's got this zoo out in Oklahoma. Now he's in prison. Now, that's in the first episode, so I'm not giving anything away. It's just amazing. I mean, you've got to see this thing. First of all, because watching him play with these baby tiger kittens, they're the cutest things you've ever seen. All right. And then you realize that people pay a lot of money to go pet these baby tigers. Producer Mark, what do you think it costs to go to one of these special animal preserves? There's one in Florida. There's one in Oklahoma, as I said. What do you think it costs to go in and pet the 6-week-old tiger cub?
I'm going to say at least $500.
Yeah, that's about right. It's like $300 to $500. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's expensive. People pay real, and of course they take the selfies with it. And there's a whole thing about Tinder selfies with big cats as a way to get people's attention. So that was a whole thing. People were taking, and you can take photos with the big. I mean, the lions that are 500, 600, 700 pounds. I mean, these animals are enormous. And guess what? Very dangerous, which also comes up at some parts in the show. But it's amazing. Yeah, I also. Disneyland is like some of these places that you don't realize, like how Disneyland's expensive to go to, isn't it?
Oh yeah, very expensive. Have you never been?
Never been to Disneyland.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I know. It's like I'm barely American.
What about
sometimes.
like Universal? Any of that stuff?
No.
Do you just not like rides?
I didn't really do theme parks. I used to go to Rye Playland a lot as a kid, which is the most like bootleg theme park on the planet.
It's a New York theme park.
That place sucks. There's like seriously, when my older brother would put me in the grocery store cart and make me go real fast until I got scared to tell him to slow down. We were little kids. That was more fun than the Rye Playland roller coasters.
I mean, what age did you go to Rye Playland? Because that's built for like kids.
Yeah, like 8, 9, 10. I'm not like a weirdo here. I was going when I was a little kid. I'm not the 38-year-old dude who's walking around Rye Playland eating the cotton candy like, hey, I want to go on the rides.
All right, that's weird at Rye Playland, but it's not that weird at Disney.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. But no, when I was a little kid, I used to go there and check this stuff out. But I'm telling you guys, this weekend, if you're in quarantine or if you're just trying to lay low for the weekend, Tiger King is amazing so far. I've only 2 episodes in, but it is fantastic. Producer Mark, you and Mrs. Producer Mark should try it. I'm telling you.
Yes, I think that was on the docket for the weekend.
Yeah, you guys should do that one. It's nuts. Like it's the whole, and the people that are involved. I mean, it's when you find out that somebody has all these animals, you think this must be an interesting show, and then you find out more about the people, and you realize this is a really interesting show. All right, roll call as we head off into our weekend. Man, this week went by pretty quickly, I've got to say. It's it's tense out there. It's stressful in the country right now, but team, we are going to get through it okay. We're going to be all right. We are going to rally. Let's get to your thoughts. Hey, Buck, I was completely blown away that you read my email on the show the other day. On Monday's show, you discussed the consequences of the shutdown on the emotional well-being of people. As a small business owner myself, the stress is almost overwhelming. I'm only a couple of checks away from bankruptcy myself. The only comfort I can draw from this is the fact that I understand that I'm not alone. I'm absolutely certain there are tens of thousands of others that share my situation. Pittsburgh is now completely shut down except for life-essential businesses, and you have to have a permit in your possession to go to work. Keep up the great work, Buckster. Listening to the show is one of the highlights of my day. Still wearing my nitrile gloves, and holding my shields high, praying for an end to this nightmare. Jeff, man, I hear you. I'm so sorry that you're going through this, but you are among millions. You are among millions. And, the one thing about this that I do think it's important for everybody to remember, because I know, small business owners in particular, people that are used to doing the right thing, putting in hard work, they have to live in the reality of what their community can sustain, and they've got to deal with customers, and it requires a lot of people. And I know that when you have a setback with a business like that, people can really feel very, not only does it affect them obviously very deeply, but they can also internalize it and take it personally. Just remember, for anybody out there who right now is feeling the financial pain and is concerned and is worried and doesn't know how they're going to support their family and what's going to happen, just remember this always. Keep this in the back of your mind. Your responsibility, your fault for this situation is zero. It's not, oh, maybe I could have, or a month ago I should have. Or your fault right now for the economic pain that you are feeling because of this pandemic is zero. You have no responsibility whatsoever for what has happened to you. Your business that is struggling now, or your business that has closed now, or the job that you have lost now, this is not a reflection on you, your capabilities, your hard work, or anything else. This is the virus equivalent of we just got hit with a tsunami that's 50 feet of solid water and just wiped away whole towns. If your shop gets wiped away by the tsunami, it is not your fault. So I do think it's important to remember that as we move forward here. And you will rebound, because the business that you were running a month or two ago that was doing well and serving customers and you were proud of is going to be the business that you're running again when we get through this. Maybe you have to call it a different name or something, or maybe you've got to get some, new employees or old employees back, or whatever it is you do, but you'll still be that person in a few months when this is up and running again, hopefully sooner than that you were before this whole thing happened. You've got to remember that. Moria. A topic that I would like to see covered in the midst of coronavirus talks is what Lindsey Graham is up to. With your mention of him on your last podcast, coupled with Tucker Carlson's allegations against him and his appearance on Sean Hannity, I think we deserve to know the truth of where his allegiance stands. Moria, I'll tell you this about Lindsey Graham. There aren't a lot of people that I'll say this about. Lindsey Graham and I had about a 30-minute conversation, one-to-one in D.C., and look, I don't care. I feel like there are a lot of shows you can go to. You hear a lot of guests. That's why I put in a lot of sound, because news-making sound I'll use on this show to tell you what I think's going on, because, you come here for the Freedom Hunt. You come here for this show, right? You're not coming here because, every day I'm going to have some member of Congress tell you what we all already know. But I had a long chat with Lindsey Graham, and I'm somebody that my word is my bond, and I really do adhere to that. And one reason why I've managed to stay on good terms with every company, every media entity that I've worked for, except for CNN, but that's a political thing, not a professional thing, is because I keep my word, and I play a clean, I play a clean game every time. And Lindsey Graham, I shook his hand, and he said he would love to come on the show, and I asked him a couple of times, or I went to his comms person. He didn't come on, and he shook my hand and said he was going to do it, and then he didn't do it. I don't like that. Tell me that you're busy and have me talk to your comms guy. Don't say I'm absolutely going to do something and then not do it. And that's what happened. So I think that's a character flaw. I really do. Especially because, not to be that weird guy, but this radio show is bigger than most of the radio shows that he has done, for example. There's only a handful of radio shows that have a larger audience than this one, and the ones that they are. The other ones do not. So that's why I sit here and I'm like, okay, so anyway. So I'm just telling you this to be honest about my assessment of whether or not Lindsey Graham is somebody who really means what he says. When someone shakes my hand, they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, I remember that. And so that's where I'm at with Lindsey Graham right now. He loves to go on Fox and talk a big game about things, but he doesn't follow through on a lot of stuff. He's bad on immigration. He talks tough on a lot of stuff and doesn't do anything. And yeah, he stood up for Kavanaugh, but I got to tell you, anybody with any character or decency or backbone should have gone the full Lindsey Graham in that moment. He did, and we got to give him credit for that. But good heavens, man. That thing that they were doing to Kavanaugh was outrageous. So that's my assessment. I don't know. Is Lindsey Graham somebody whose word about what he's going to do and where he stands is good? Jury's out for the Buckster on that one. Adam, Buck, I'm worried now that some have gotten a taste of a stay-at-home and do-nothing lifestyle. It might lead to a dark path for some. Japan has been seeing this as a subculture for a while. Shields high. Well, Adam, I do know that the Democrat Party wants to use this moment to create as much dependency as possible. That's real. That's going on right now. So I think we have to remember that as we go forward. And I do think that there's a concept that's gaining traction in some quarters, and I couldn't quantify it for you, but I think it's real, where people think that the government can just write checks and that can be the economy. And this is where there's a lot of talk about, well, if we can give people $1,200 in unemployment insurance for a few months, why not have a universal basic income? Why doesn't everyone just get an electronic transfer to a bank account of, $1,000, $2,000 a month? Wouldn't that stimulate the economy? Wouldn't that be better for everybody? Well, as we know, that you would start to see inflation, by the way. I mean, this is why if you gave everybody $1 million wouldn't be $1 million anymore. And this is a concept that the left doesn't really understand or just pretends not to understand. Also, if you gave everyone $1,000 a month, then you know what happens? Then they want $2,000 a month. And then in a couple of years, everyone needs to have $3,000 a month. And you just keep on trying to ratchet up the taxation in order to pay for this redistribution of wealth. So, yeah, Adam, it's something. But look, I think most of the millions of people right now that are out of work, I mean, a vast majority of them want to get back to work. They want to get back to their jobs. People want purpose. They want things to do. It's intrinsic to our nature as human beings to want to have things to do. Darby, I'm a registered nurse in Dallas. I want to add my 2 cents. While I agree that many more ventilators are needed, no one that I've heard has addressed who exactly is going to operate these ventilators. They are extremely complicated and can potentially kill a patient. Some doctors and nurses can operate to a certain degree, but certainly not all. We don't have anywhere near enough respiratory therapists, in my opinion. Keep your shield up, brother. Darby, you're the expert, man. I'm sure that's true. And look, if you get an air bubble in somebody's IV, it can kill them. I'm sure a ventilator, if someone messes up, it's controlling your breathing, right? I'm sure that can go bad very fast. So, I wouldn't want someone to pull me in. I got no medical expertise. I wouldn't want someone to pull me in and say, hey, you're going to run the ventilator now, right? That would be very bad news. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, how quickly can we train? I don't know how quickly we can even train ventilator operators, technicians, whatever you call them, if we want to. Toby, hey, Buck, glad you're working through the shutdown. I drive a truck delivering food and dry goods to Walmart stores. Well, Toby, every person listening to this right now is saying, high five. Thank you, Toby. Thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for keeping the shelves stocked for all of us and being out there on the roads. You are carrying a burden for your fellow Americans on your shoulders every day. You're doing this right now, and we appreciate it. You are being a hero for your people by doing your job. It's true of everybody driving a truck, everybody in delivery and logistics across the country right now. John, well, I finally have time to watch your show. A completely different experience. I'm an avid podcast listener. Hope your isolation's going well. Shields high. Well, now's where I get to tell you guys, if you haven't already, if you're listening on podcast and or you're listening on one of our 160, affiliate stations across the country, you can watch the show and listen to it as well. And it's great to flip open on your laptop or pop it up on your smartphone while you're, doing some work at home or while you're, it's great to have in the background if you're cooking or cleaning up or just, watching the kids or whatever. You can download the Pluto TV app. It is totally free. And there's a lot of stuff. Download that app regardless. There's a lot of stuff on Pluto TV. It's totally free. They've got great channels. They've got like a home improvement kind of channel that's got all the, how to fix faucets and things. They got lots of really good content. I don't know how many hundreds of channels they have, totally free. And it looks just like a cable interface. You just click on the channel you want to watch. It couldn't be any easier. But channel 248, the first, is the best channel, obviously. It's the one that I'm on. My friend Jesse Kelly, Dana Lash is on. Mike Slater is on. I mean, we've got really excellent conservative opinion talent all streaming on this channel. And you can watch it for free. So please do. If you haven't checked us out before, Pluto TV channel 248, the first. The first is the name of the channel. Pluto TV is the name of the app. All right, roll call going here with Pablo. Hey, Buck, I couldn't agree with you more about getting back to work. My godfather turned 70 in July. A month ago, he had to retire on a Friday and turned 70 on a Monday. Now he's putting his retirement on hold at least till the end of the year. His whole life, he's done it right. He worked hard and climbed the corporate ladder while raising 5 kids, 2 of them adopted. He put away savings and started a 401k for retirement. Now it's unclear when he can retire. There's 2 sides to every coin, and this is the other side. Thanks, Buck. Shields high. Yeah, man. I mean, people think that retirement accounts, 401ks are for fat cats. And no, this is for people to retire. Very few people have what are considered defined benefit plans, also known as pensions. Very few people overall have that. More people have 401ks. I think my numbers on this are correct. So, yeah, it affects everybody when the market gets absolutely clobbered. It's a very real concern. But I hear you, man. I hope we get back to work soon. David, Buck, I heard you mention the Team Buck community would be a great resource. I agree. How do I reach out to members? Facebook? I'm starting a business when this blows over, and I'm looking for a business partner to run sales. Please let me know. Shields high. Well, David, there's a few ways that you can do this. There's a few things that would let you contact other folks in the community. Facebook is certainly a very good resource. I would say, look at our Facebook page, and if you post in I put posts up there, or Mark will put posts up from the show, and you can just in the comments be like, hey guys, I'm in the such and such area. Who else is around me here? Who has any ideas? And it's just a way to get the conversation going. People will see it; they'll respond. That's certainly one means of accomplishing that. We've thought about setting up some kind of more official fan page. The problem is we just don't really have the staff right now to keep that going and to moderate it. And then people, someone says something mean to someone else, and now do we have to intervene and all this? So I'd say comment on one of our posts and say, hey, guys, here's my situation. And, we have a reach with some of these posts of hundreds of thousands of people that are going to see some of the posts that we do. So, hopefully some of them will be right in your area, and that's it's a good way to do it. That's one way. And look, if somebody has a particular idea, or if some folks want to get together and they want me to give a shout out for an area where we have, one of our affiliate stations, and people want to get together and I don't know, the Austin area, Denver, Seattle, or Portland, or something, and there wants to be some kind of a Team Buck meetup. I can't be there. I can't travel. But I could at least get the word out for a bunch of you if you want to gather together and try to, even if you gather together virtually, right? That's what we would do now, social distancing. But you could try to come up with ways to restart businesses and get going again. That's where we're at right now. I'd say that's the best way to do it. But as I said, people have gotten jobs from people they've met on this show, employers. People have gotten married from being in the audience of this show. Certainly met lots of people they've gone out on dates with. I mean, it's a community. It is. So it's nice. Jerry, Buck, you got to get a PS4. And if your TV has HDR, high dynamic range built into it, get the PS4 Pro. The picture will look amazing. The games you got to get are God of War and Hellblade. Both are Viking-era style games, but with Hellblade, play it with headphones. The sounds are crazy. And, of course, get the new Call of Duty game, Shields High. Well, Jerry, I hope if I do get a PS4, I see you out there in the multiplayer mode, and I can school you, son, show you how it's done. We'll see. But that's I'm trying to get through more books, trying to get to a Malta podcast that you people have been asking for a while. We'll see if the new mystery lady allows me to do some reading and research over the weekend to get this done. But I think we'll get that podcast done in the next week or two. So that'll be great. Greg writes in, Buck, this is my first time writing. I'm a medical laboratory scientist in Charleston, South Carolina. I keep talking about places I love. I love Charleston. I'd move to Charleston tomorrow and be happy. Charleston's a great, great town. I'll listen to your podcast every morning. It gets me through the early hours. I appreciate your thoughtful, articulate, and sometimes comical view on current events. You're a breath of fresh air here on the front lines. Shields high to you and producer Mark. Keep fighting the good fight. Well, Greg, thank you. Thank you so much. And, your expertise right now is more valued than at any point in my lifetime. So, God bless and keep doing what you're doing. And I hope you're able to, enjoy some of the great food scene still in Charleston. So there you go. Saul writes in, Buck, AM 760 in San Diego added your show last week, and after the first day, I told my wife that I had a new favorite radio host that is incredibly smart and eloquent. The next day, I told her you went to Regis, and she smiled and said, now it makes sense, because she said she has met most of my lifelong friends from the class of 78, and they're all top quality people. I'm going to be a kid in the candy store with your podcast playing catch-up. Thank you for serving our country both then and now. Deo et Patriae, Shields High. which means God and country, Shields High. That's the motto of Regis High School, our high school. Saul, first of all, thank you so much. It's great to be on AM 760 in San Diego. I'm so proud. That's a wonderful station for us to be on. Mike Slater before me is a great dude. I have nothing but the most professional and personal respect for Mike. He's a really solid, really smart guy, and I'm honored to be following him. And I love San Diego and that whole community, so that's a great station for us, and we're so happy about that. Everybody, take care of yourselves this weekend, all right? Make sure you rest. Make sure you get the necessary, mental space for this coming week to take care of yourself. We'll be back on Monday. Shields High.